Hey everybody, Terry from Introverted Games here, and in this tutorial there are three main concepts we're going to cover. The first concept being, how in the heck do I create a collectible object for my 2D game, like an apple or a tool or any object you can pick up in the game. Now, the second thing we're going to cover is after you collect that object, how do you make it perform some task, like, say, increase your health or put an item in your inventory? And then the third and final thing we're going to cover in this video is how do you then destroy the game object after you've collected it and it's performed its preset task. All right, so without further ado, let's get cracking. Okay, the first and probably the easiest thing we're going to cover is how to actually create the collectible item. Now, you can see I use some free art here, but I had to actually flesh out a little game to make this work. If you get this art pack, I'll try and put a link down below. It's just the tiles and things like that. It's very pretty. If you take a look, though, I actually have, a little game I've flushed out just for tutorials because I'm kind of a perfectionist and I just, gotta have it. Okay, so you see, it's just the bare basics you would need to have a platformer. Okay, that's all we got here. Okay, so what we want to do is make a collectible. So I think that because we're a caveman, it might be kind of cool to pick up, like, say, a rack of ribs. And maybe if you pick up that rack of ribs, it gives you a little bit of health. That's a good idea, right? So I happen to have some sprites here, and this is how you're going to do it, probably, if you're going to make a pickup. It's actually pretty easy. Now, I'm not going to get into things such as animating the pickup, but you get the point, right? So we're going to go here, and I believe I have a rack of ribs. Now, whoever made this asset pack called them rips. That's okay. That's okay. We know that this is a rack of tasty, yummy ribs. Mmm. Okay, now we're also going to make a little folder over here called prefabs so that we can keep track of all of the items that we make. This is pretty important, guys, to stay organized and keep everything, you know. And then we're going to also make another folder, call it Collectables. I probably should have had that if I could spell. And I probably should have had this done before I started the video, but that's okay. Now, we're just going to go ahead. If you notice that this rips, let's rename that, buddy. Ribs, and we're going to do underscore collectible. Now, let me just do a disclaimer here. If you were going to make a full-fledged, like, commercial game, you're going to have several pickups. I'm not going to cover, like, enums or anything like that. I'm not going to cover, like, the item class that you can then expand upon to have apples, oranges, bananas with scriptable objects. That's out of the bounds of this tutorial. We're just doing a simple thing to get you up and running. Okay, and you could use this in a full-fledged game, whatever. Okay, so we have our ribs collectible. Now, we just drug the sprite in here, and it automatically made a game object. And if you don't want to do it that way, you can make a game object, and you can just add a sprite renderer to it, and then add your ribs sprite. Now, I like to have these, centered out. Okay, there we go. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Okay. Yeah, that was a bad idea. Okay, so what you need to know about collectibles. Every item has to have a collider. So you have to have a collider on your collectible, and you also have to have a collider on your player. Now, this is very important, and you can't forget this. One of the objects must, I repeat, must have a rigid body. If you have two objects, say a player and a collectible, and they both have colliders, but neither one has a rigid body, the event's not going to fire for on collision enter. So it's really important you make sure you have a rigid body on one of these. Now, because I have a rigid body on my player, caveman player right here, I don't need to put one on my collectible. Totally cool with that. But what we do need to do is add a collider. Now this is a 2D game, so we're going to do a 2D, probably a box collider. You know, it doesn't have to be anything fancy for right now. Now if you look, it made the box collider a little bit bigger than the rack of ribs. You might want to adjust that, you might not. But if you do want to adjust it, what you do is you click right here, and then you see there's 4 dots. Those are for the side that you can drag in, you know, and make your collider fit just a little bit better. Okay, that's on you. You could also, if you wanted to, and you don't care about performance a whole lot, you could add a polygon collider. Now if you look at that, that fits your ribs perfectly. And what I said about performance, don't mind me. It's just that box colliders are highly performant. And using poly colliders can get you into trouble sometimes. I like to use them because they fit better. So, all right. We are, now that we have a collider, and we have an object, and of course we have a player, we're going to make a script. Now, let's see what we're going to call that script. I think that we can call this script, just for, you know, purposes of the tutorial, we can call it pickup. And please, this is not a good practice if you're making a commercial game. I'm just trying to show you how to do one small task. You really want to think about the architecture of your game if you're trying to go commercial. So, all right. Now, what we are going to do is put the pickup script onto the ribs after this guy does his thing. Okay, beautiful. Pickup, boop, on the ribs. That's awesome. Now, we're going to edit the script. I use JetBrains Writer as my IDE. You could use anything. It really doesn't matter. You could use Notepad++. It's just an IDE. It doesn't matter. All right. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to need a few things in here. Let's just use our noodle a minute. Let's think. All right. We need an on-collision event. So, now, this is really important, okay? There's on collision, and then there's on collision 2D. There's 2 different series. Now, I've seen a lot of people do this. They just put the normal on collision enter in their code, and then they ask me, why the hey isn't this working? Well, this is a 2D game, guys. And so, that being said, oops. We need on collision 2D. On collision enter 2D. Beautiful. Now, this is going to fire every time a collider interacts with our pickup object. Now, if you look here, it says collision 2D and it says COL. That's an abbreviation for the collider that has collided with this collider. The collider that collided with the collider. Oh, wow. Okay. So, now if you look at our little game here, and come on, compile, baby. You look at our caveman, you'll see that I gave him a tag of player. If you don't know how to make a tag, I'll make a video for you or something, but I gave him a tag of player. This is important because we want to know, like, did an enemy collide with the pickup, or did a player collide with the pickup? I don't think we're in the business of feeding our AI. I think we're just feeding our paying customers, our players, right? So if an AI tries to steal this rack of ribs, we have to say, hey, no, buddy, That's for paying customers only. Okay, and to do that, we're going to use a tag. Now, is this the best way? No. Is this the only way? No. This is a tutorial for beginners. So this is just a way that will work. And one thing you'll notice about game design, I don't want to rant here, but listen, man. Don't get so caught up on, is this the proper way? Is this not the proper way? At the end of the day, all that matters is that your game works and that people can play it. Who cares if you have some code that's substandard? Who gives a hey? Are players going to see your code? No. Is your end user going to be like, hey, line 54 on your health statement should have been done differently. I need a refund on this game. No, that's not going to happen. You know, we're indie devs. Just make the stuff work. If it doesn't hurt performance and you want to do some substandard stuff, who cares? It's your game. Okay, I'll stop ranting. All right, so let's get back. Let's go back to the code here. Now, what we're going to do is say, we're going to do a little simple if statement. If, now you remember, COL is the collider that has collided with this collider. So that collider has a game object, and that game object has a tag. Now, let me show you something that you should probably be doing. A lot of people would do this. If GameObject.tag equals player. Now, this will work, okay? But if you're, it doesn't work well. And see, JetBrains even says it's inefficient. You should use compare tag instead. So instead, what you do is GameObject.compare tag, and then it looks almost the same, but it's a lot more efficient. Don't ask me why. I didn't write Unity. Okay, but it works better, so use it. Okay, that's all we got to know about this. Okay, now, what we're doing here is we're saying if the thing that collided with this pickup object is a player, then we want to do something. Okay, here we go, we're a player. Now, on our player, we have a health script. You're probably going to have kind of something like that in your game. Okay, you're going to have something. I've just made a cheap, generic health script here, and I have take damage and remove health, whatever. The basic crap, right? The point I'm getting at is you need to access this script on the player. Okay? Now, let's see if I can remember syntax and don't make myself look like a complete fool. What we want to do is if, and we're going to say try to get component, and we're going to try to get a health component. Oh, but hold on. We have to say if call.gameObject.try to get, and we're going to try to get a health component. Okay? And if that succeeds, we're going to say it's a health component, and we're going to call it player health. And we got to put the word out here. Out. Just like that. I will explain this to you. Okay, now, in fact, to explain it better, let me do it this way. What we would do is the other way to do this is not, what's the word, error proof? I don't know. The less good way to do this would just be to say collider.gameObject.getComponent, and we're just going to assume there's a health component on the player, and that's one way to get the health component. And yes, this will work, but if for some blasted reason there's no health component on the player, it's going to throw a null reference error and all kinds of nasty garbage. Okay, and this right here says try to get a health component on this player. If there is a health component on the player, we're going to go ahead and assign it the name player health so we can do stuff with it. It's kind of the same exact thing as the other way around, but it has an extra level of don't throw an error, please, you piece of crap game added to it. If, you know what I mean? Look up the syntax. This is a better way to get to grab a component. Anyways, so if there's a health component on the player, we're going to say out player health, and then down here we're going to say, oops, la 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 la. If I could type today, player health dot, and we're picking something up. So let's go look at player health and see what we did. We want to add health, give it health. We want to give you something. So what do we have? We have public void take damage. Oh, I didn't make the function. We're going to make it together. Yay! Okay, so we're going to go public void. And we're going to say, instead of take damage, what should we call it? Add health. Fuck it. Pardon my French. We're going to call it add. I don't want to call it the same thing. Take health. This is dumb, but give health. We'll do it like that, and we need an int for amount. Correct? Yeah. And boop, boop. Do that, and then of course I have a UI thing that I'll show you in a moment, which events I need to add health, I need to invoke, and I need to give it the amount. This is so it will update in the UI. I could show that to you in a moment. Okay, the other thing we need to do is say current health plus equals amount. This is pretty standard stuff. You probably have this in your code already. Okay. Current health plus equals amount. And then we're also, do we have a max health? We do. Okay, so we're going to do a sanity check. If current health is greater than max health, then current health equals max health. All that does is kind of cap it at the max health so that it can never go over. Okay. Now this add health dot invoke amount, it is a Unity action. I use a lot of these. Yeah. And it's listening over here. I subscribe to the action or the event here, add health, and I implement something on the UI, the visual appearance. Okay. So player health dot add. Oh, cheese biscuits. Why are you being that way? Come here. Oh, give. Give health. That give health, and we don't have an amount right now, so we're just going to hard code a 1. Don't hard code stuff, guys, but this is just a simple quick tutorial. So let me walk through this with you. Now, if somebody, let me save, control save. All right, now we have this rack of ribs right char. Okay, on this rack of ribs, which is a collectible, we have a collider, a 2D collider. Okay, we also have our pickup script. Now, that is how you create a collectible. That collectible is created. It is done. The second part is making that collectible perform some action when you interact with it, which is what we've done here. We have the on collision enter, and if a player collides, we're going to grab the health object, the health component on the player, and we're going to give 1 health. Okay? So, cross your fingers. This might blow up. We don't know. We're indie devs, and weird crap happens. Okay. Let's give this a test. Oh, save. Always save, guys. Control S is your best friend. Okay. What we're going to do first is run off. So we're hurt. Okay, see? Now we're going to go collect our ribs. Oh, look at that. It gave us our health. It worked perfectly. Okay. Of course, it's still there. But, okay. Let's do this. Boom. Now, there is something I want to show you, and there's a reason I left the destroying code out until the end. If you're walking, you'll notice that the ribs stop you. That's not normal. I mean, come on. This is a game, and that shouldn't happen like that, right? So, what we want to do, okay, is go to our ribs, and you see right here where it says is trigger? Now that's important. It makes it a trigger, and it won't stop our rigid body. It will just trigger the event. But there is a caveat. You then have to go to your code, and it's no longer on collision enter. It's a little bit different. Let me show this to you. It's on trigger enter. And of course, remember, don't use the 3D version if you're in a 2D game. Use the 2D version. So on trigger enter 2D right here. Bam. There we go. And if you notice, everything looks pretty much the same, doesn't it? So in all reality, all you have to do is this. Oh, come back here. And then delete this because it is not needed. And there we go. Let me show you the difference now and how this performs, and then we'll cover the last part of this tutorial, and then you guys are going to go make beautiful games on your own. I know you are. You guys are so talented. You can do this. All right, now we're going to hit play. And of course, we got to get hurt first. And bam. See how we can walk all the way through it? Okay? But it still gave us our health. That's beautiful, right? All right. Boom. Okay. Now, the next step is going to be making it vanish when you pick it up. We could also play a sound like nom 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 nom. And in fact, you know what? Let's go ahead and play an audio just so that you see how to do it, and then we'll make it destroy itself. So I'll give you an added bonus here. So what you do is on your collectible object, you want to add a component, and you want to add an audio source. Now, I do want to mention something that a lot of people have happen, and it trips them out. They'll be making a video game, and their play one-shot audio will play on a delay. It's just because you're on Bluetooth headphones. Don't freak out. Don't rewrite your code. Okay. Plug a cord into your headphones and try it then, and I promise you, that's going to fix that little annoying delay. I spent so much time trying to fix it, and that's what it was. Okay. Now, we want to uncheck play on awake. Don't really want that. The volume, you would adjust all of that if this was a game that you were going to, give to people to play. Now, we have an audio source, so that's beautiful. And in our pickup script, we can go ahead and add the audio. I don't really care for that. I tend to follow a programming pattern where each script only really handles one thing. But this is a tutorial, and so we will go ahead and just, do it that way. Now, a lot of people would immediately do, serialized field, private audio source. You don't have to do all that crap, and I'm going to show you why. Because the audio source is on the same object that your script is on, it's much easier. You don't have to drag and drop in the inspector and do all of those shenanigans, okay? All you have to do is say private audio source, and we're going to call it audio source, okay? And then what we're going to do is in the start function, which we don't have yet, of course. All right, we are going to say audio source equals get component, and all we have to do is get component because it's the same object. Our script is on this object, so this is, I prefer this versus dragging everything in the inspector. It's 6 one, half dozen the other. You'll find what works for you. This works for me. Okay, we're grabbing the audio source, just like that. Bam. Now we have a reference to it. We also need another reference, and don't nag me for this. I use tooltips. I'm sorry. The audio clip you want to play on item collect. Yep. I do tooltips, guys. You don't have to. That's just me. Alright, so serialized field, private. We need an audio clip so that we can play something. Okay. Alright, come back down here. I hate when you do that. That's just my IDE, guys. Okay, now, in this particular instance, because I don't want to set up a resource folder and blah, 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 we are going to drag in the clip, you know. So audio clip, I know that I have some audio here that I have downloaded because we have a jump. Boing! Boing! Okay. Sound effects, one-shots, and I don't even know which one's good, guys. Let's check them out. They're all kind of crappy. Ooh, I like that one. This doesn't really fit the caveman game. Okay, but this is a tutorial, and we just need some sound, so it's gonna work. We're gonna put it right here. Bazinga. Okay, now what we're gonna do is go back down here, and right after we give the health, or right before, it's really up to you. You just want to play the audio clip. So you go audio source dot play one shot. Bing. And then we're going to add the audio clip. And I don't like it being called audio clip. Let's call it collected clip. Just so we know what it is, right? It's right there. If we test this, it will totally... And you see this here? I put the word health so as not to confuse some beginners. I would have put var. It's the same thing. It's the same thing, but I don't expect you to understand because you're probably very new at programming, so we'll just keep it as health. All right. So, compile. Now that we're here, watch this, guys. Are you ready? Are you excited? Ooh, check this out. It didn't work. Oh, shiz biscuits. What did we do wrong? Uh-oh. We did something horribly wrong. Oh, look at that. Look at that. There's no clip in there. Okay. Sorry for that. Let's try it this time and see what happens. There we go. I know you heard it. Okay. I would make a caveman say yum, 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 yum or something if this was my game. But now, the final thing to do. Final thing is to destroy it after you pick it up. But you know, I'm going to do one more sanity check. If we can't eat the food, we're not going to eat the food. We're just going to leave it in the game so we're not wasteful. I mean, we're cavemen, but we're not barbarians, for goodness sakes. We can save something for later, right? Okay. So we'll go in here. And let's say... Oh, this is going to be fairly simple. So, if... And we're going to say player health dot get... Okay. We got to add something. Hey! Okay. We're going to put a getter in here to get the current health. Now, some people would just make this private into a public. Please don't do that. If you make it public, it allows lots of shenanigans to happen. Okay. Instead, what we're going to do is make what's kind of called, I call them a getter. We're just going to put it right here. Public, oh, and it's a, what is it? Current health is an integer. So we'll say public integer, and we'll call it get health. Okay, no, get current health. Yeah, so that we're more specific. Okay, and then all we're going to do, this is so dead simple, guys. We're going to return, not rerun, return current health. So anytime this is called, it's going to give us the current health of the player. And then what we're going to do is go over here to pickup script, and we're going to say if player health dot get current health, okay, is greater than wait. Yeah. Is greater than oh, gosh, is less than. Do I have max health? Okay. We want to be smart about this. We don't want to hard code, say, a 3 in here. Even though we know that 3 is the max health, we don't want to hard code that, because what if we change the max health later on to be 5? All right, so we want to go ahead and do this one more time for the max health, just to be totally, safe. So public int get max health, and yep, return max health. Okay, it might not be evident why I'm doing that, but right now the max health is 3 and everything works and it's great. Now let's say that 2 weeks from now in development you get a lot of play testing from your people and they tell you that, gosh, you need more health. So then you go ahead into the health script and you add it to 5, but none of your pickups are working properly and you can't figure out why the heck your code is broken. Well, that's because you hard coded an old max health value in here instead of getting it dynamically from the player. You should always try and be more error proof, or whatever you want to call it. So what we do is player health dot get max health. There we go. Now what we're saying is if player health dot current health is less than max health, that means yes, we need some health. We could probably eat some tasty meat. So if that is true, then we'll go ahead and run these here. So if it's not true, then nothing is going to happen, and that's beautiful. This is telling me I can probably invert. Yeah, we're not going to worry about inverting if statements. Okay, and yes, 3 nested if statements is probably not the best code practice. This is a tutorial. I'm just showing you how to do something. So now, if we hit play, you're going to notice, and this video is getting quite long. I'm trying to wrap it up, guys. You're going to notice that because we have full health, when we start, nothing happens. See, the meat stays there. There's no nothing. Now if we go over here and we get hurt, all right. Beautiful. All right. Now, the last thing, I promise, is we're going to make the meat go ahead and destroy itself after we pick it up. Now, that's really actually quite simple. So all we're going to do is say this dot game object dot. Okay, never mind. How do you do it? Okay, sorry. Syntax. Okay, destroy this dot game object, and all that's going to do is after all this shenanigans has happened, it's going to destroy our tasty rack of ribs. Let's give it one last test here. Okay. But did you see something? We didn't hear any audio, did we? It destroyed itself before the audio could initialize and play. Now, you might think that was a bug. No, I did it on purpose. I want to show you one last thing. We need to do what's called an IEnumerator. This is basically a coroutine which allows things to run on a small delay. You have to understand that this one-shot audio clip is probably a half a second long or something, and we're destroying the game object immediately before it can play, and the audio source happens to be on the game object. There's ways around this. You could do all sorts of things, but this is what we're going to do right here. So, IEnumerator, and we're going to call this destroy delay. All right. Boom. Now, we're going to go yield wait for seconds, and I don't really know how long this clip is. We're going to say 0.3 F for seconds for float. We're going to grab this. We're going to put it down here. Now, what this says is, okay, let me fix this. Boop. What this says is, okay, I've ran. I'm going to wait 0.3 of a second, and then I'm going to do this. Okay? And then up here, we're going to say start coroutine. And this is called, destroy delay. And we're going to, yeah, that's it. Because we're not passing in the seconds here. So, all right. This might take a couple of tests to get the proper amount of delay. But you're going to notice that it works now. You'll hear some sound at least. It may not finish the sound, but it'll start the sound. So, see how it kind of cut the sound off a little bit? Now, what you can do is go power up 3, and it should tell you how long it is somewhere in here. It looks like 0.695. Okay, so that's fantastic. We will just go here, and we will just go 0.7. And that should be it for this tutorial. We will do one last test run. And it's on to you guys. You need to go make beautiful games. I can't wait to play the games you make. Look at that. Now, I don't quite like that. There's one more thing we're going to do because I don't like how you can see the meat. So we're going to do one more thing. I don't like that. Okay, I'm sorry. We can actually do it up here before we start the coroutine. And what we're going to do is let's look at our object. So it's a collectible. And on this collectible, we have a sprite renderer. What we're going to do is turn that off, just so we don't see the meat, even though it's technically there, you know, for a couple split second, 0.7, but still. So we're going to say, I like to say this. A lot of people don't use this, so we won't. Get component, and we're going to say sprite renderer dot is enabled, or how do we do it? Set. There we go. Enabled equals. Sorry, guys. Syntax. Syntax is a thing. There we go. Now, check out these shenanigans. That's a pro tip right there, turning off that sprite renderer. It's going to look a lot better. You'll see. And walk it over here. Bam. Do you see that? Do you see how smexy that was? So smexy! Alright, guys. That's it for the tutorial. You've learned how to create amazing collectibles Oh, this is just my slippery material. I'll show you that in a different tutorial. Alright, you've learned how to create amazing collectibles, power-ups, weapon pickups, whatever you need. You can pick them up, you can make them perform an action, and you can destroy them after they perform that action. You are learning so much. You're becoming such a good game developer. I'm proud of you. Come back and check another tutorial out if you need more help. Hit me up in my Discord. There's a link down below. I can give you some one-on-one tutoring. Hey, if you gained any value from my video whatsoever, go ahead and smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, hit the little fancy bell icon so you get notified of new stuff, and I'll see you in the next video.